welcome to the show.
Here we are.
Thanks for having me.
We're here to figure out our way forward.
Yeah,
we're not dead yet.
We're not dead yet. Adrian! But we've been...
I didn't get that one.
You never watched Rocky?
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah. It was just, you got to do the Rocky voice. But I've actually never seen Rocky. It's tough to, I'm maybe I'm showing something, but.
Yeah, I thought the voice was okay.
No. But anyway, I know the reference.
Adrian!
Yes. Okay.
All right. Yeah, he loses, but, he calls out to her.
Oh.
Wow.
Just ruined the ending.
I think the people watching are going to be more offended you haven't seen Rocky. I think, spoiler alert. Yeah, we did another video. We did a video update, I don't know, 10, 14 days ago, but we didn't release it. And we've had a couple conversations since then with some people inside of our mentor group, inside of our investor base. And I think we've got a new plan moving forward, which in many ways we've been trying to, adapt to changing circumstances, all these things that we've kind of discussed over the last couple of years, circumstances outside of our control coming out of COVID, some mistakes and probably structure things that we could do better in the future. And we probably wouldn't have done them the same way if we could start over. But based on where we're at today off of our efforts, trying to recapitalize our company and our portfolio, we've effectively just kind of been like sliding down the hill backwards.
Hasn't gone the way we expected.
Right.
And yeah, just, burn through the cash that we had, all to good use. But ultimately, I think we just, we thought we were going to have a lot more success with the fund and the rate of capital raising and just effectively equity selling that we were offering. And, for a lot of different reasons, didn't work at the velocity that we expected and, really needed for it to be as, have the success that we needed to sort of to lift our company back up or our portfolio back up. So after, utilizing all the capital that had been raised for the portfolio and then running out and then things, starting to snowball quickly in the wrong direction, it became very evident very quickly that, if this stays at this rate, this is now, putting, lighting money on fire, putting good money on a bad problem, even more so than maybe it was when it still felt like we were on the right path.
Right.
Time
is a killer.
Yeah, it is.
Time is a real killer.
It is. We had the right plan and the right intentions for sure. But everything is always much more clear in hindsight and, knowing what we know now and seeing what we see now, a year ago or 2 years ago, maybe we would have been having some lighter version of this, had some lighter version of this plan then. But at the end of the day, we're more knowledgeable, more experienced and more hardened.
Yeah, certainly. I think at the end of the day, we've personally guaranteed almost all debt that we've ever raised, past projects and what we've done so far. And, I think we personally guarantee that money because we really understand that we're working with people's retirements and their savings. And we've worked with a lot of, smaller investors inside of our network. And we don't take that responsibility lightly. And you have one or two deals kind of go bad and you say, all right, well, obviously I can't execute my promise to pay on that deal. I'm going to make it up on this next one. And, the effects coming out of COVID, a lot of that stuff is beyond our control. The interest rates from 3 to 9% beyond our control, right? The fear in the market and the volatility, some of that's beyond our control. I think, in many ways we experienced a bit of a perfect storm out here for the very reasons we were drawn to Western Massachusetts and Holyoke. It was, I think, a lot less attractive for your smaller retail accredited investors. It's certainly not as sexy as certain other neighborhoods or other types of projects. And, we have a lot of low income, we have a lot of poverty. And when people are coming into the community to look at an investment, they see that distress and it causes a red flag, understandably. But at the same time, what is a red flag for them was kind of why we came here, and from a niche perspective. We buy buildings below replacement cost, right? You buy them cheaper than it costs to build them, so there's value there. And then there's a big demand for low-income housing, so permanent housing voucher programs allow these projects to cash flow, and we're not afraid of getting our hands dirty, doing the work and construction. That's been our forte, and we're not afraid to do the management. And now we've learned a lot of lessons along the way in each one of those, fields, from construction to property management to housing vouchers. We've learned it's not all created equal. And, in the operations, that's really where you make or break yourself. And, or it's the most important part, right? Even if you buy it right, as is exiting. It's the whole thing. It's a big puzzle, and, it's a challenging operation. But we've personally guaranteed a lot of these debts with our heart to repay these. But as we've experienced all of these setbacks over the last couple years, and we've worked to pivot, we've kind of now found ourselves backed into kind of a corner because, as you said, that velocity just isn't coming in quick enough. And when you have 15 buildings and they're not cash flowing yet, you're spending a lot of money on holding expenses, and that'll just deteriorate you. So it's been challenging because now we're in a position to where we can't raise money, like you said, to just put it into this portfolio, because now, unless a big pile of money comes to where not only can we outgrow our immediate pain points, but we can actually grow our company, kind of like what we were anticipating on doing with the fund. Right now, we need to make an exit, right?
Yeah.
We need to stop the bleeding, if you will, and get out and free ourselves so we can actually make moves. Because right now it's felt very, I don't want to say paralyzing, but paralyzing because, we've got unsecured guaranteed debts that, can make claims to properties and ultimately cloud the ability to sell them. I think the scary reality of where we're at right now is that we many people have said, okay, it's time to file a Chapter 7 and move on. And, Chapter 7 bankruptcy is effectively where you throw your hands up and you say, look, I can't make my bills anymore. The court steps in, they appoint a trustee, and then they go through a process of dissolving your companies, selling your assets, and paying your debtors back. So we already know that if we sell these assets, we're not going to be able to pay our debtors back, which is ultimately going to leave us in a hole. And while that's obviously not great news, it is what it is. We need to dig out of that hole, and we're going to do that with some new opportunities, some active income strategies, which we'll talk about. But at the same time, we have to be able to exit these deals, because the longer we hold them, the more they just bleed, right? And then you've got these lenders throwing on fees and fines, and everything's just getting harder and harder and harder the longer you hold on to. So while we're beaten and bloodied and we've been hit, Adrian, we're not, they made multiple Rocky movies. So we're going to still stay in this game and we're still going to fight, but we're proposing effectively something called our 7-11 plan. And we don't want to go Chapter 7, Bank BK, have it your way. We don't want to go BK, but we do need to stop our interest. We need to freeze our debts, if you will, right? So we can make moves and get out from under the weight of that. So what we're proposing is effectively our own self-performed Chapter 11. So Chapter 11 is a bankruptcy for businesses. And typically what you do is you try to restructure the terms of your loans so you can make payments. There's usually a 1 to 5 year repayment plan. Now, when you file a Chapter 11, you go back into the bankruptcy court process, and it's a thing. What we want to do is effectively operate this outside of the bankruptcy court. So what we're going to be doing is all of our investors are going to be receiving effectively a new guarantee contract. Now, the paper today is worth what it's printed on. You could use it for toilet paper. You could use it for a fire starter. But what it really means is that our heart is in this with you, and we're not walking away from you at the end of the day, right? We understand that we are stewards of your resources and your investment capital. And, some people that have invested with us, it's a large nest egg, some smaller, some bigger, but it doesn't matter. Every dollar is important to every single investor, and we recognize that. And, we're not really in the business of losing money long term. We're certainly not the first set of entrepreneurs to lose money. Just look at Amazon. They weren't profitable for a while, and now they're profitable. So we just need time to keep trudging forward to effectively make us and all of our investors whole. So this new contract will effectively stop the interest where we're at. If your bill's $120,000, that's what we owe you, then you're going to have a $120,000 guarantee contract. It's going to stop it right there. And then we're going to account for inflation. So if inflation goes up 3% or whatever, we'll pay you that plus the time value of money. So you're not losing the value of your investment over time to inflation. And then from there, we're going to work to pay people back. We'll start with, smaller monthly stipends as additional revenue comes into other business ventures. And then as we, take cracks at larger deals and we work on getting larger commission checks, then those dollars will come back to our investors. We'll probably set up a type of holding entity where, effectively everybody that we're consolidating this debt with comes into the company. And if making investors whole is Rome, then all roads lead to Rome, right? So if we make $500,000 selling pest control, great. That's $500,000. If we make $500,000 selling real estate, great. If we make them, if we syndicate some new deal and we get an acquisition fee or a property management fee or some type of developer fee, great. All these different things can come back and work to make people whole. And, unfortunately, we don't have a definitive timeline as of today on what that looks like. It could take us, we hit the lottery and we do things really great. Maybe we're making everybody whole inside the next 12 to 24 months. If it takes longer and we need to chip away at this, then, maybe it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 years. But at the end of the day, we have today, we have the air in our lungs, and we got to keep fighting.
Yeah. Well said. I think our entire financial structure and debt and the reason we personally guaranteed all this debt, and whether it's debt or equity, whatever the investment structure is, it doesn't matter. It's money that's been from others. It's outside capital that's been offered to us, and whatever the structure is for purposes of real estate investments inside our company. And we've effectively failed on a large majority of that. And the structure of it doesn't matter to us, whether it's been personally guaranteed or not. What's important is the relationships that we want to have with, what's important is how we hold ourselves, the relationships we want to have with our investors, with our creditors, whoever. We want to get you your money back. We want to uphold our word, and make you whole. That's our goal, bottom line. And the way our financial structure is set up right now, it's kind of this like mixed bag of like it's sort of like this giant weight that has no conformity to it, and there's like no way for us to pick it up and move it, and it's just weighing us down, and it's chaotic and it's insanely heavy, and we don't know what to do with it. So we kind of need to reshape it off of our shoulders into this new vehicle that acknowledges like, okay, I see it there. I see it as something I'm responsible for, but now I can look at it in a way that, that I can chip away at. And I no longer have this, I'm not sort of buried under the burden of it in today. And I can focus today on money making endeavors. And then this, this side vehicle is, we can get into the structure of it, but effectively it's like what owns all, or has like an ownership stake in all these other money making endeavors. And that's how it flows back to all roads kind of leading to Rome.
Right. Totally. And there's like, I think with the information that we had at the time, as we've made decisions, we always thought we were making the best decision with the information we had. And it's only really until, if you've ever played the game Jenga and the tower falls, it's only really once that, it falls down that you see, okay, that was the, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. But at the same time, you were pulling a lot out and you're playing the game and you don't necessarily recognize that. Like one thing that we've learned, going through all of these reps, learning about syndications and private equity and PPMs and all the reporting surrounding that is it's now set us up to discuss and wheel and deal inside larger projects. So you've been looking at some larger deals, $20 to $30 million projects. And we've found some investors inside that assets class that are looking at deals that big. And, if we help put together a deal like that, even if we own nothing in the deal, 2% on $20 million is a really, really big, fat, healthy commission. And you do 10 of those a year and you're making great money. So it's like, a lot of the challenges and the pain points there's probably a really big blessing in there that's going to kind of catapult us to the next level. It's just you kind of have to go through the stumbling blocks and you learn through that. What is it? Charles said, success is a crappy teacher. So he's like, now you have an MBA. Like it's an expensive MBA, Charles.
Yeah. In
the business. But, one of the simple lessons that we learned is, with new structures, would alleviate this past problem. But like we've had cross-collateralized mortgages. So like a private investor, the situation was different at the time. And, we thought things were going to go differently. So while a loan was used on maybe one property, he basically got a claim on another property. And now if that one property has a challenge or some issue that, slows its performance or it's not able to meet its timeline or its exit as planned, now not only is that property being affected, the cross-collateralized property is now having to try to shoulder the weight of that. And in this business, when we owned 100% of everything, it was always like, well, we own 100% of it. So, it's kind of like working from the same, stock. But really what you want to do is each one be 100% independent. And the effects of this shouldn't have any effects on this asset over here. So, as we've looked at some properties and we say, okay, well, we want to be able to sell this property at this number, but we can't because it has a cross-collateralized loan on it that's not even necessarily having anything to do with that deal. It's like, that sounds like common sense, but a lot of people cross-collateralize.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Happens all the time. And you kind of understand why players at certain levels don't do certain types of deals or don't operate a certain way because, well, truthfully, they've been there, done that. And, in a more sophisticated investment vehicle, like, some type of securitized offering, the structure's way different. And a lot of times you're not, you're maintaining flexibility for that asset or that project inside that investment vehicle. And it's by design and it's done that way up front. Whereas we didn't do that. And, for the first 5-6 years of our career, when money was really cheap and everything was, crushing forward, we kind of could grow above and beyond our less sophisticated means, if you will. And then once, COVID and all of those challenges related to supply chain issues and then inflation and then interest rate hikes and then tariffs, like all of those things have had an impact on us outside of our control. And we ultimately just haven't been able to pivot fast enough to get out of the quicksand.
Yeah. Yeah. Got a number of solutions to cross collateralization in the future, which is number one, only take one debt position.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. Much larger equity stacks, much lower debt positions. Debt can be a tool. Debt can be a great tool. But in the bad times, debt's your worst enemy. And that's kind of what we've gotten crushed under. Dave Ramsey, for all the shit people like to give Dave Ramsey, he speaks a lot of truth.
100%. And there's so much, traditional wisdom in that. And I think, whether it's a larger capital stack or even a smaller capital stack, just not, keeping everything 100% independent. And if one deal were to go down, instead of trying to, assign that next, makeup on the next property, it's like a professional would say like, no, that deal's done. It went bad, write it off. And, some way, somehow will work to make you back. A lot of those other pros aren't even trying. Like if you lose money with them, you lose money with them. Like we don't want to do that. We'd rather chip away at this over the next couple of years and make people whole. But there's, certainly our green behind the ears, good intentions probably, we sold ourselves to challenging circumstances by always trying to pivot and make up for the last challenge with the next new deal. And that's just not the way you should do it. It's not the way you should do it. You should, all right, that one went down. Sorry. It's down, it's out. Don't let it affect anything else inside the portfolio. And which, makes total sense. And, I think one of the challenges that we experienced, because we understand the moving pieces of our company very well. Like we're not afraid of the market. We're not afraid of the neighborhood. We're not afraid of these types of buildings. We're not afraid of the type of construction or repairs. A lot of people are. They are. And we get it because it's a lot of heavy lifting. But for the same, for the very same reasons that we understand this so well, I think we had a challenging time explaining it to potential new investors that wanted to come in. And when we looked at our private equity fund as effectively one offering, it was like one umbrella and all of the assets went under one umbrella. For us, it made so much sense because, well, we understand all these deals, but your average guy or gal that makes $250,000 a year doing whatever their day job is, I think we half the time talked them out of the deal, trying to explain to them how the business works. And I think we just confused them. I think we scared them. And I think for that reason, along with some of the, the poverty and the challenging community circumstances, I think it was just plus the market, I think it was this perfect storm of just like, this isn't working.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to cut this off where it is at the knees, set it aside. One eye knowing that we're going to take care of that, right. With sympathy for the people that have to, ride this with us, but also with the heart of saying, I'm not going to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And, whether that means we stay in the business or, I'm not just going to file a Chapter 7 and then, we could probably go get sales jobs or jobs with some company making, we could probably become accredited investors overnight ourselves just with our experience. And if I wouldn't take a job for less than like $200,000 a year personally, if that was what I was doing. Not disclosure. I'm not searching to find a job. But the point is that, we're not just going to throw up our hands, say, oh, I dropped the ball. I'm out of the business. I'm doing whatever, living my life. But it's, hey, we understand that we did drop the ball, but we are here with the intention of staying in the business of being in business so that we actually can devise a path forward in this business and in other adjacent businesses. A lot of lessons around revenue streams that we can get into on another video and talk about those successes and what we're trying to build there. But we're in the business of being in business so that we can find a path forward, however long it takes, to backfill this deficit, which is ultimately just going to lead to much stronger relationships with those people, and then the people inside their networks. There's a number of stories of people that have gone through something similar and have led to much, much stronger relationships at the end of it all. And they're flourishing well above and beyond probably what they ever thought.
Yeah, yeah. And if we do have to get a JOB, then we get a flexible JOB that allows us to fight our poverty and give us
Sure.
the freedom to build what we need to do inside this business. Like I don't I'd have a hard time walking away from this industry completely after spending 10 years and learning as much as we've learned.
Right.
Right? I mean, we were on a call today with an investor and he was like, this is a game of decades at the end of the day. Like real wealth, holding investors, have portfolios and they've held positions for decades. And even if they're moving deals inside of their portfolio, they've been in the game for decades. Yep. And, when I think about the level of success that we've dreamed of and we've imagined, we're not even scraping. We're scraping the surface of it, but that's what it is. We're not even taking a chunk out of this. And, it's nice because through networking and just talking to people about this, we've been able to meet some other operators and entrepreneurs that have gotten out of, really big holes. I mean, you talk about somebody, going down $300 million or $250 million. And then, that's scary sounding. And they did it and they got out of it and they're still real estate entrepreneurs. So, it's good to know that our challenges, as frustrating as they've been for us, we're certainly not alone. And there's a lot of other operators that have been there, and a lot of other operators that have come out of the fire better and bigger because of it. And you learn from it. That's just all it is. You learn from it. It's just scary because it's real money. And nobody wants to not hit their timelines. Nobody wants to be delayed in payment. But, like anything else, sometimes the market goes up, sometimes the market goes down, sometimes challenges happen. And losing our head about ourselves does nobody any good. And, even if we, the goal with the 7-Eleven plan is to keep it outside of the courts, keep it outside of a formal bankruptcy. But even if our hands were really tied and we had to actually file a BK because all these people were coming at us, then our agreement would still survive the BK. It would just force the stopping of debt. So it's like, there's a self-induced kind of quote, easy way to do this. That's less expensive and doesn't require the courts. And then there's a more expensive, slow, annoying one that works with the courts. And either way, we're going to pay people back.
Yeah. Well, Chapter 7, if we filed personally, would just legally absolve everything. And then, we would still move forward as planned. But it would, it wouldn't be it's not really what we want.
Right.
We wouldn't be able to have, it would just put us in a tighter spot.
Sure.
It wouldn't be as clear.
It would make
forward.
And it would make future deals. It would give us another hurdle to overcome when we talk to people. And, I think with all the things that we've learned, we're going to structure deals moving forward in a better way and to mitigate risk all around, but substantially just for our own selves. So, even if that happened, we would still be proceeding in that kind of new intelligent way. But yeah, we're in between a rock and a hard place, and you can't get blood out of a stone, usually. So we'll do what we got to do. And unfortunately,
diamonds out of coal.
Yeah, exactly. Pressure makes.
Is that where diamonds come from? Coal?
Well, yeah, pressure makes diamonds, right? So, no pressure.
We'll make it through. I don't know. I used to have this, a little bit unrelated to this topic specifically, but I used to have this I don't know if you want to call it self-doubt or whatever, but I was like, oh, I hope I'm going to be, successful. I'm thinking thinking back 10 years ago, it was more like hopes and dreams and wants and trying to envision what that could be like or when it's going to be there or whatever. And then there was definitely periods I would say of self-doubt of oh, wow, I really don't know if I'm ever going to be successful, financially or otherwise relative to what I want. And then at some point in the past, probably year, I would say that doubt has completely gone away and I'm not really, maybe I had doubt because I sort of had timelines people say like, oh, millionaire by 30 or whatever.
Yeah.
On paper, it maybe happened. Wasn't worth much. Turns out it was worth the paper.
Yeah.
Or maybe the spreadsheet.
Yeah. What am I worth today? Talk to me tomorrow.
But now like that doubt is gone. It's more like, oh, I know this is going to happen. Like I know we're going to backfill this deficit. I absolutely know that. How long it's going to take, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly attached to how long it does take. I'm not exactly attached to whatever level of success I do or don't have. I know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I think we should touch base on, some of the active income strategies that we're working on. I mean, you've been leading our pest control company and you're at 28 contracts.
Yeah. When we decided that we were really going to exit, find a path to like, okay, we're going to be, all of these properties are either going to be sold or, hopefully nothing gets foreclosed on. But like at some point in time, all of these are going to go away. And while we're not opposed to doing new deals, I think we're definitely going to do real estate deals in the future. I think we both kind of know that we don't want to feel like we're forced into like, oh, now I have to go find another deal. I have to find another deal. Because at some point we were probably doing that knowingly or unknowingly. It's probably not the best way to approach real estate deals. I'd prefer to approach them from like, oh, I want to do this deal. I have lots of opportunities. I have lots of ways to make money. I want to do this deal. So what we did know, and that was really historically the only way we ever made any money, was through our investments, either kind of living off of them in the middle or hoping to get them to stabilization and keep them there and then live off of whatever cash flow there is. That's how we put food on our own table and kept our own lights on and just did the minimum and left everything else there. But the gap that left was that in the event that these investments don't go as planned, then we have no other stream of income that we can pivot to, either to backfill into the investments or to use as a source of living. So because we're now not pursuing a real estate deal right now out of necessity, and because we know we need to make money, we don't want to have to go get a job, so that, because a job is probably going to be a nighttime job, and I have kids at home, I'd prefer to be spending my nights at home. But that's what I would do so that I could still work on the business during the day. But we said, okay, well, we need to have money-making endeavors that do not require debt, leverage, raising equity, all the things that we have to, when you don't have any money to do a real estate deal, you need those things to go buy $1 million. I don't care if we're buying $100,000 property or a $100 million property. We need some combination of those. So that's kind of been our mindset is, okay, well, what can we do that we can use our skills so we can make money, not risk-free, but if the only risk is time and I got a lot of time and I don't have any money, then those are the things that we're going to pursue. So went across a few different strategies. It's like, well, what do we do now that we can just flip into a money-making endeavor? Went through a number of different business ideas or strategies. All of them are something that we were doing to some degree, and really not that, like, the core pillars of business are all kind of relatively the same: sales, management, organization, customer care, HR, whatever. So we looked at property management because we were property managers. Sure, we bought and sold buildings. We were investors, but
we were property managers.
You're investors like 5% of the time.
Yeah.
But when you're operating multifamily, especially value add multifamily, you are a property manager.
It's like buying a boat.
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah.
Investor, buy a boat today. And then the middle,
really just clean it the whole time.
You're like, I sold the boat. Yay.
Yeah. So we said, okay, well, why don't we just, we could do property management services for other clients. And that's certainly still in the realm of possibility. I saw that as a longer sales cycle. It was going to take longer to build up. Not that we didn't have credibility in the industry, but I said, okay, what's the shortest path to, call it $10,000 a month in monthly revenue? Maybe I was wrong. I don't think I was, but maybe I was. I'm kind of always willing to be wrong. So I kind of sprinkled that disclaimer in.
That's good.
My thoughts were that to get to that amount of revenue, it was going to require more trust with more potential clients, and it's just a longer sales cycle to get there. Not to mention property management's hard, and it's a lot of labor.
Yeah, it borderline sucks.
Yeah. No, it can be a good business. You can make really good money for sure. I know people in property management that do really well. But I've said, okay, we understand property management. It's what our team is kind of built for, but maybe that's not what I spend 30 hours a week pursuing. And then we had a couple other little side construction things like apartment turnovers, roof coatings. I think that's a great idea. But one of the side businesses that we had already started that was for ourselves, like as investment managers, was pest control. So one of our employees became a partner in that company, got licensed, and because we had worked with a couple of local pest control companies, weren't receiving great results or great service, and it was kind of expensive, and we really needed it for our properties. So we said, why don't we just get a license and do it? We probably talked about that for over a year before it actually happened 5 or 6 months ago. But that was then the business that we decided to pursue for the reasons that were opposite of the property management. It's kind of like order taking. There's a very quick sales conversion cycle with potential customers. It's literally like 10 minutes. They call, you answer phone, you talk to them, and in 10 minutes, I've got another customer that's worth $800 to $1,000 a year. So you have to stack up a lot of accounts. So it's very dependent on your marketing and the number of leads. It's just, if you get the phone to ring more times, you're going to get more accounts more quickly. And that's what we've been doing. So yeah, now we're up to 28 accounts. We need to get to, I would say, around 300 to be like a business that's really churning really well and like spitting off some money that, we can kind of lean on to some degree. And then at about 500, like we'll have a couple employees. And this is a very simple business. You show up 4 times a year or in between if they call you. Margins are great. I did a lot of research into the business, the operations of the business, the fulfillment, the financial expectations. And, that was for all of those reasons, plus having a license and having some experience with dealing with that particular vendor. We just started rolling with that one. And it's been it's a very, very small business right now, but it's been very, very easy to operate, fulfill, close deals. And it kind of, gives you it's good wind in your sales. Today I've closed 3 new accounts already.
That's awesome.
One website submission came in, one came in on Thumbtack that led to 2 accounts.
Sick.
So yeah, it's been fun. And, I don't necessarily want, I didn't really see myself a year ago as I run a pest control company, like that sort of being the identity, but I don't really care. I've definitely detached from whatever ego I ever did have. And I'm really just care about pursuing things that make money. Totally. And you can exit a pest control business, by the way. You can exit home services businesses. Just look up, Tommy Mello.
Yeah. we always wanted to vertically integrate our company. It was always part of our, plan. We decided to get you licensed because we wanted, after having a bad experience with a GC, we wanted to not have that happen again. And we wanted to know the business. So we got in and we learned it. And we'd said the same thing with property management in the very beginning. It was like, we didn't love the people we were meeting that were, interviewing them. And we knew that no one was going to care about our baby as much as we did. So we said, all right, well, we're going to get into the property management business to learn it. And we did learn it. And I feel bad. It doesn't suck, but it can be monotonous at times.
We have the most challenging tenants that you can
100%. We're in certainly we've experienced some challenges that maybe other markets they don't, but whatever. Neither here nor there. But we've always worked with electricians. We've always worked with plumbers. We've always worked with HVAC guys. So it was always like, well, why wouldn't we have our own plumbing company at some point? They're in huge demand, right? Why wouldn't we have an electrician at some point? Why wouldn't we have a pest control at some point? So it's interesting because, it might be a different path to the same destination that we're ultimately going to. We're just we're now taking a different exit to get there, and we're working on some other subsidiary kind of ventures, if you will. And eventually we'll come back to, probably buying more multis and doing more deals for ourselves. And that'll be great. But
yeah, we'll definitely be doing more deals. The focus is making money. All things are easier when you're making money.
100%.
And, then we can do deals out of like, oh, I don't have to do another deal because I have to stretch for the next deal to feed myself a year from now or whenever that's stabilized. But, I have a number of options and I know real estate and I can do this deal because I want to. I see the opportunity here.
The full irony of this entire thing is that back in, 2018, we were making the decision to get into multifamily apartment holds for the quote passive income to subsidize our active development projects. That this was supposed to be feeding us while we worked on those condos. And then in 2021, when we couldn't make our exit, we decided to sell all our condos, and then we missed all our financial milestones from market conditions. So it was just, we kind of traded one thing for the other, and we didn't even mean to. Supposed to. So it's ironic. You have to laugh now a little bit, otherwise you just go cuckoo.
I just don't think there's anything passive about being in business at all. There's a lot of, now that kind of in the home services world to a degree, I've looked into there's a lot of, people that are out there trying to buy businesses now. That's become much more popular. And people, I see discussions about, buying a job versus buying a business. And, if you buy this type of business that's not structured this way, then you're going to just be buying a job for yourself. And if you don't know how to do that job, then you're going to hate it and whatever. I think that if you were in business, unless you've got a ton of cash and you literally can just be like the chairman of the board and be able to pay the person to sit in the seat at every single level from janitor to CEO, then all of it is a job. Some are just more fun than others.
Totally.
And some of them fit more your strength more than others. But outside of sitting on plenty of cash to fill all those positions, you're going to have some sort of job. And if you're on one board, you're on a lot of boards, which means you got other jobs. So I don't know. I just don't buy into this whole, I think that
nothing's passive.
Nothing is passive. It's all a complete lie. You can put your capital in certain things that can make you money passively. Sure. But you're never going to be able to bank on that as making all of your money unless you've got plenty of cash.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like you said, at some point you have to have the management that's skilled and competent underneath you. And somebody always has to manage a manager. There's always So, if you take your eyes off the ball completely, then, I guess that's where, but the bigger they get, the larger the staff that runs the show. And yeah, so it's interesting. There's certainly nothing passive about, property investing, I think, really at any capacity. And if you do find those, a lot of times those feel like and sound like pipe dreams, and they're not true.
Yeah.
Or the return is so low.
And even if you're a limited partner that's passive, you still need to be doing active due diligence on operators and due diligence on deals. And, you're not just in one, you're in multiple. So you have to know what you're looking at to some degree and spend time on that when you make decisions.
Yeah. It's a job to have a portfolio of investments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we'll make it through. I like to work.
Yeah.
Luckily.
We're, we've been, so obviously we have all of this media equipment. We've done a lot of video and photography stuff. So we're working on a, inside of our company, we've done a lot of internal development that maybe the world doesn't always see. A lot of that's been related to CRM stuff, just trying to create processes that were streamlined. And with technology, you're always finding some type of, your own little ceiling to work around or something like that. But as we've kind of created some of these internal systems that are powerful, now we're able to leverage some of those benefits with other services. So, now we're basically going to be going out to the market with $1,000 a month marketing and media package. where you get 4 shoots. That could be 2 photo shoots, 2 podcasts, or 4 podcasts, or 4 photo shoots. And then inside of that, a lot of automated, really great branding equipment or branding materials, and effectively, a bonus free CRM that can keep all of this really organized for you. If you want to lean into the marketing capacities that are attached to it, if you just want to use it for the photos and the websites, it's still an affordable transaction. But you think about you get 10 of those clients. After Kayla's been working on the website. You think about, after you get 10 of those clients, 20% of that is effectively expenses. That's $8,000 for the month.
This is offered to real estate agents and brokerages and
agents, brokers, people that are just doing regular transactions. Certainly we can work with other investors or developers or operators, and other business owners as well. I think, building out our own CRM has been cool because some of the benefits inside of that CRM, we can actually save people money with other programs. Like if you use our CRM, which is free via the photos and videos as a bonus, if you use that, cool. Oh, it could get rid of DocuSign for you. So it's like, not only could it be a good value for you for media and marketing, now you're actually saving money from a program if you just decide to move your execution from DocuSign to the CRM. So there's little nuggets of value. And at the end of the day, it's like, you want to be better, you want to be cheaper, you want to be faster. If you're coming to market with anything to get market share, that's what you want to be. Or you want to have such a high level of quality that you're niche, right? And people are willing to pay for that. So, for us, that's an angle of attack. I am joining with Gallagher Real Estate here, so we'll be doing a sales team. It'll be a little war room where we're all calling just to do traditional deals. That should be a good money maker, which will probably open a lot of doors organically as we talk to people in the communities that we work in surrounding real estate. And then, we've learned a lot in our career and surrounding acquisitions and underwriting complicated deals. Those are things we've learned. So, I think we're going to be putting together, or I am a small acquisition course that we can sell online for $88, something affordable, but that's very click worthy, where people take a risk on a small investment. And that's something that we can sell to the entire country online. We can sell it if we go out to a networking event or a speaking event. And, you get, you sell 1,000 of those and great, right? And from there, that can be a funnel to future consulting work or, other high hourly earning work. And it's just, like I said, if making our investors whole is Rome, then all roads lead to Rome. So if I make $500,000 selling media work, great. Good for you, investors. If I make $500,000 selling pest control, good for you, investors. $500,000 selling real estate, good for you, investors. It doesn't matter. We're just going to leverage the skill set that we learned in this industry, and we're going to kind of, not diversify our time too much to where we're not being valuable with our time, but casting a slightly larger net to where we're not so singularly focused on one avenue. Because I think when we did that, we put ourselves in a little bit of a box out here, and there's just no need to do that. Yep. Because we have a lot of skill sets that other people could find valuable, and we're open to monetizing that. Yeah. So, yep. Everybody, you'll see the draft agreement for our new consolidation promissory note to you. But other than that, we're just going to keep working. We're here in Holyoke. You can come take a visit, walk some of the projects, and we'll keep this thing moving.
We're going to keep working.
There's one way forward.
That's it.
There's one way. It's forward. Yep. I'm not going backwards, so don't look that way.
Ain't no quitter.
And I guess I will close the podcast on past performance is not indicative of future results. And we mean that in the best way. God bless you. Share with your brother, lover, mother, and father. Peace.